You are listening to the Shite podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
I'm in a comedy with a street girl who's too hot for Tinder. I know when I was on the app, that's how myself as well. He was definitely right for stabbing. No. Our new theme song for our new show, the 204 show, Mark and Ken.
What's up?
Episode 204 of the Shite podcast show. Ken, it is finally here.
It's finally here, and we've got the best show ever planned.
We have outdone ourselves.
It's so genius. I don't know why we didn't think of it before.
This is what we do. We get people's expectations down low. We bring the goods. I am really impressed with what we do ourselves. This is a new start for our podcast, I think. This is going to be a whole new podcast after this show. We're changing it up and starting with our theme song and then moving on to the content that our fans hear.
And want.
More than likely want. We have talked about this off the podcast many times about doing this and about how it's way better. And we finally bit the bullet and did it.
Done it.
Yeah, we finally done it. Our 204 show, we brought the goods.
Eventually.
Do you want to actually explain to them what we've actually done?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely, honestly, we have nothing. Be honest with you, for this show, we've put in less work than we normally do.
Which was actually more work.
Well, it's more anxiety, which is interesting because I've picked the show that I'm going to put more anxiety of doing it while I have a blood pressure monitor on. So if it goes bad, I'm also going to have to have high heart readings and explain that to them.
You're going to have to explain this to a doctor.
Yeah, exactly why this will end on. But yeah, we've literally have absolutely no stories this week. We normally scour the internet, find the idiots, find the atrocities, and make fun of them on equal measure. But we decided, we're not going to do that this week. We're just going to talk shite.
Yeah.
It's called the Shite Talk Podcast Show.
Exactly what's on the tin this week.
We're actually going to change it to a completely different format. Ken didn't even know this. It was top secret. We were going to change it to Shite Talk Maths, where we just talk about maths. But then I realised that one of us is all right at maths and the other is not great. It wouldn't work. And
you know what we should have done?
Geography?
I just thought of it now. We should have done a history podcast.
I think that's already done, Ken. I think there's someone currently on that right now.
That would have been brilliant, though.
And then we move on to other. This Shite Talk rips off other people's podcasts. We could just start doing DMT and getting on scientists. Start talking about how the coronavirus is a communism in secret form.
And bring in somebody who's really, really good at jiu-jitsu and just never talk about jiu-jitsu with them. Just go over conspiracy theories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could do that. I don't really know any other.
I think I know a guy.
Yeah, I don't know any other podcasts that we could do. But anytime before the show that we ever start, we always we should record our conversation before we get on the air, because it is sometimes is the best work. It happens.
Sometimes it's better than the podcast.
It's actually, to be honest with you, we enjoy it more, and this is what you get this week. But it's our 204th show. We aren't going to have any stories. We're just basically going to talk shite for the entire show, and we're just going to see how it goes. This is kind of freewheeling it. We're just going to be. It could be a train wreck. It could be amazing. We'll know in an hour's time.
Amazing train wreck.
And it could be an amazing train wreck. It could be just silence after all this. It's why did we think this is a good idea?
Why did we think this was a good idea?
Anyway, what do you think of the new song?
I could barely hear it, but
could you? We should have done on a fucking test trial. I should have played it first and asked you if you could actually hear it.
But I listened back to the podcast.
Yeah, it was weird. I was fidgeting around with the tech to see if it could actually play. Because generally Ken doesn't hear the music. We add that in afterwards. So he never really hears He doesn't hear the intro. The intro comes in after we record the podcast. So I thought this time, since it's brand new, made by Greg Kearns, who is my cousin, and he hooked us up with a deadly song. And it's going to be a new theme song for the rest of the Shite Talk podcast show. Or at least we get bored with it, and then he'll have to make us another one, I guess. But yeah, I liked it.
We'll be turning for a full refund.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I liked how they added a bit talking from the show, a lot of Tinder talk, a lot of you kind of going, yeah. That's already. He has a linked out different things on the show. All I can hear is the Tinder, and then me and you going, yeah. A lot. Apparently, that's a big part of the show. Us just agreeing with each other.
It must be the podcast before the podcast that we're always disagreeing with each other then.
Oh yeah, I think sometimes there was a few episodes where we did actually disagree with each other quite a lot, and I just decided no one wants to hear this. and then I go, I'm also the editor, so bye. And then so it was just taken out. I think there was a show where we started recording, and our show is an hour long in case people are new listeners, and I think 43 minutes in, we're still arguing over this first topic, which we started like 10 minutes into the show. I was like, the whole entire show has been like hijacked by this argument.
And it's always over something stupid.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be over something completely like, and then we'll just keep rehashing the same points. It'll just be the same point going over and over again.
It's worth it though.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think it's worth it. Sometimes there's like, when I edited it down, I'm like, but that's a really funny part. And then, okay, that's actually funny. And then it's like, oh, well, I take it out. And I was like, it's too long. People have a very little attention span.
Yeah, very, very short attention span.
I know, like, there's like Joe Rogan and other people who have long format podcasts, who disagree with it, but I think people honestly have a 15-minute attention span. I imagine vast majority.
Well, you do anyway.
Well, I definitely do. Like, I'm not a good example to as a basis of what average people have. I have usually less than the average person. But like, I imagine most people don't even get through the full of our show. I imagine people get through to about half an hour of it. Well, like, it's only an hour long. I have 40 minutes of it. I imagine people don't even get through the full length of our show.
Like, I've never listened to a full Joe Rogan podcast.
Have you ever listened to a full Shite Talk podcast show? You don't listen to podcasts.
I have listened to a full Shite Talk podcast show.
Yeah, but you generally you don't actually listen to. Like,
yeah, I generally don't listen to podcasts.
Which is odd that you agreed to come onto a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what were like any inspirations leading into this? You were like, okay, I won't really want to do this, or you're like, this could be a crack.
Actually, it could be a bit of crack.
Yeah, I guess so. Just talk shite to someone for an hour.
Yeah, like, I was kind of like, I was like, oh, me and Mark get on very well.
Could be a bit
I could
fun.
talk shite to Mark for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very easy because, like, when I first started this, my main inspiration was the Ricky Gervais show, which is like an animation show.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that Russell Brand did with some other comedian. I think it was a radio show that they did podcasts. And they got in trouble for slagging off the Spanish or something like this. And I was like, yes, that's what I want to do.
Off the Spanish.
Yeah, it was mainly Americans or Russians, like right now. But like, yeah, I was like, oh, it's just two lads just having a bit of banter. And it's the same with Ricky Gervais show. It just seemed more like, oh, these are just three friends having a crack, and it's kind of, there is a structure to it, but it's like, it's mostly just ripped and piss out each other.
Yeah, talking shite,
and that's basically what it is. And then now there's 100 other Shite Talk podcast shows just like ours.
Ours is the original and the best.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of odd that no one, especially one that like You imagine he does a lot of research. Would have ever just Googled the word Shite Talk
Yeah.
and then seen that there was actually a podcast called the Shite Talk Podcast Show.
How did the name come about?
The name, I kind of like. I think there was a few other names floating about at the time, and I just thought it was ironic because I thought like if people think it's shit, well then I was like, oh well, it's called Shite Talk. What do you expect? But if people find it interesting, they think the name's ironic, as in, oh, it's Shite Talk, but it's actually good. And it was like, so it was like it covers what I liked. It gave me both covers. People either think it's a completely accurate name for the podcast, or people think that it's ironic that it's called Shite Talk. I think more people think it's an accurate name at this stage.
Then 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50. But like, first thing I did, and I have to admit this, there was another Shite Talk podcast show. We say we
Did
are. I know we've
you know that already?
Yeah, I don't know what we come up with. We're the first. We are the first name. Shite Talk Podcast, but we're not. That's my dirty little secret that I let out at 204. There was one other Shite Talk Podcast show. It was, I think, there were a couple of Scottish lads. They had recorded 2 episodes of their Shite Talk Podcast show, and they hadn't done that for a year. So I imagine that they just gave up. So I was like, the name's there. And then I was like, oh, I'll just take this.
It might come back now, though.
It might, if this comes really popular. Like, we were first. We were clearly you stole it from us. You have to change your name.
It might come after due to our overwhelming popularity.
Yeah, I was going to call it Crack Talk. I think that was another floater of a name.
Another floater.
Yeah, or something like that. But like I kind of like didn't know what structure of what I wanted to be the podcast for. I thought I'd have guests. Another thing that I was actually going to do was I was going to have every episode I'd be drunk doing the podcast. I was going to and then also ask my guests to be drunk or just at least start drinking. So it doesn't mean this doesn't look that bad. So it was like every podcast.
Way to get rid of stereotypes, Mark.
Yeah. Well, see, the first few episodes I recorded with people I knew, and I said, just come over, we'll have a few drinks, and we'll record a podcast.
Yeah, I remember you used to always be drinking whiskey on the show, weren't you?
Yeah, whiskey or Ziconi, or mostly whiskey. I was like I said, I'm full of stereotypes. So, like, I expect everybody in every other culture are full of stereotypes. So, like, that's what I literally did. Then I was like, I don't know, because originally I was going to get guests. I was going to ask people. I don't know if like, especially with time zones, asking people to go, would you mind if you could just open a bottle and just have a few drinks? It's kind of a thing on the show. Like,
we need you to be buckled.
Yeah, we need you to be a little bit sauced for this podcast. And if they said no, I go, will you mind if I start drinking? And it's like it could get me a bad reputation.
Yeah.
So I never actually went along with. But I was kind of always imagined, like, what if I did actually go down that route? It's like your man jiu-jitsu going, would you mind having a bottle of whiskey? a bottle of whiskey, please. Drink
Would
this.
you just get drunk there, please?
Yeah, or when I was like, I remember before that podcast, I had the microphone upside down.
Oh.
Yeah, you have to scroll for it, but it was one of these podcast microphones that you talk into the side of. You don't talk into the front of it. And
yeah.
So I was talking in front of him. He couldn't really hear what I was saying. It was just like I wasn't looking at the audio properly to see if it was recording or anything like that. So it was just like it was just me really low, and then his was like a normal temperature because he obviously was not an idiot.
You were just winging it.
Yeah. And another time I was like interviewing this stunt performer about like stunts in movies. So you do stunts? What's that like? Have you ever seen someone die? And she obviously thought it was a video podcast. I thought it was an audio podcast, and I had to hold it up, and I was just like, that was very awkward.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that having somebody else there, because it gets very sick and tiring of every week you have to be like, will you come on my podcast?
Yeah. And then you've got that awkward thing then of waiting and then the connection. Like sometimes the connection doesn't be great.
Time zones was another fucking pitfall for me as well.
Yeah, time zones can be a bit of a...
Because I used to always get them wrong. Every single time I think, they're 8 hours behind, and they'd be even more, or sometimes they'd be less. And it's like, oh, you're on the closer to the New York side. Shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because I always thought, like, if they have a southern accent, then they're on the more California time zone. Dude, like, it does
like Googled time in random place.
Probably should have, Ken. Probably should have. Does America have 3 time zones?
I don't know if it's 3. It definitely has 2.
Yeah, it definitely has 2. I think it has 2. I think only East Coast, West Coast time. I'm pretty sure we would have heard it, like, on shows, live shows like UFC, be like, East Coast, West Coast, the other time zone.
Oh, I think it's only 2.
Yeah. I know, I think you think you're right. I think it is only 2. But I still messed it up.
Yeah, get your act together, America.
Russia only has 1.
That's a bit mad, wasn't
it? Well, see, every country like picks their own time zone. And like Ireland technically should have 2 time zones. But like for purposes of it, we have 1. It'd be a bit odd. A bit of Donegal having been out of sync with Ireland, the rest of the country.
They were talking about the UK were talking about not doing what you call it anymore. The thing where they change the time.
Oh no, it's the EU that are going to get rid of daylight savings, and the UK.
Yeah, it was going to 2 different time zones, and like literally 6 counties would be a fucking hour out.
Yeah, it fucking would be mad if they did that. But like, I think like the World War One, World War Two is so important in the UK history. Because it's the only time that they ever looked great or looked like a superpower or didn't look like stupid cunts. So like they really cling onto that like with every bet they can. It's that and they won the World Cup I think once.
That whole time when they had like a whole big empire probably was another time.
Yeah, but everyone thought they were cunts at that stage.
Yeah, but they looked great to themselves.
Yeah, they looked quite powerful. Yeah, in fairness to them, they had great ships.
Great ships.
They had lovely ships. But then after World War, everyone felt shit, and like they're not that important anymore. So they're still kind of clinging on to like war. It's like fucking the Russians with Sputnik. It's kind of hilarious. They named their vaccine after like the first ever thing to go into space.
They named everything after Sputnik.
Yeah, no, the last great thing that they ever did was like they bet the Americans to get into space.
Yeah, like everything is called after Sputnik. Was
Sputnik the dog or the man that went into space?
Is Sputnik not the shuttle?
Yeah, no, Sputnik was a shuttle, but was it the shuttle that like sent the man into space or the dog?
I'm gonna look that up.
I know yeah, we got a lot of time. I know the Americans lost the race to get man and ship in space first, and then they won to get to the moon.
Sputnik. Oh, Sputnik was the first satellite sent into space.
All right. Fair enough. It wasn't even a ship. We were both wrong.
There you go.
Yeah. Do you know what? That would be a good kind of pub question. What was Sputnik? And everyone would say it was the first ship to go into space. And I would have put that.
It travels at 8 kilometers an hour.
Is it still up there then, if it's a satellite?
contact between blah 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 blah. I don't know. Let's have a look. No, it fell back to Earth in 1958.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to them, like,
It was up there. It was up there for 2 months. The batteries died after 3 weeks.
do you know what my favorite fact about Ireland is?
Go on.
After we invented whiskey, I think there was a 5,000 year gap between we invented anything else.
That's because we were trying out the whiskey.
There was like in between, like when the last invention was whiskey, and then there's this 5,000 years where we just didn't. I don't really know if it was 5,000 years, because then we would have invented whiskey before Christ, like 3,000 years before Christ.
That easily could have happened.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know if it was 5. There probably was whiskey around before Christ.
Yeah, or Putchian or something.
There's probably some form of alcohol. See, we used to have a Google thing, and that's gone. So like,
that lasted a couple of weeks.
We're
getting fired.
Yeah, that died a really, really quick death. So like, it was handy to have something to like, because we used to just make like wild accusations like that, like, oh, it was like 5,000 years ago, and then we Google it and it was like, no, it's like 200 years ago. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah. 200 years.
Hang on, we look up when whiskey was invented.
Yeah, by the Irish. The Scots are always trying to claim it. So there's
fuck them.
It's like Australia. I think they had the first people on Earth. There's like an Aborigine in Australia. I think they were the first.
Okay, so Irish whiskey. The first Irish whiskey dates back to 1405, 90 years before it was recorded in Scotland. So fuck you, Scotland.
Fuck you, you stupid cunt. And we also invented your language, by the way. So you're welcome. Yeah, they didn't know that, Scotland. I love how people also take ownership of stuff they had nothing to do. You ever see like football fans and they're just like, "Oh, we won today." Yeah. And it's like, "Oh, were you playing? Were you?"
Yeah. Like,
what's your position, bro?
I never understood that.
Yeah. Same with like people that talk about, "Oh, well, we won the World War." You were there, were you? Because it happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, like
I'm pretty sure you had no part to play in it. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, like that's always something that like gets me.
You wouldn't hear about the Germans.
The Germans?
No, you wouldn't have. Oh well, we did. They're like,
yeah. Oh well, we
well,
shut up.
Yeah. German history books is just like load blank pages.
I remember I was in Austria.
Yeah.
Before we used to go to Austria every year snowboarding. And we went one year, there was like maybe 60 of us went, and like that included like parents and stuff went and all this kind of shit. But one of the parents, we went to Dachau, concentration camp, and when we came back to the hotel, the barman was like, "What did you do today?" And we were like, your man was like, "Oh, we went to Dachau," and he's like, "Oh, I have no idea what that is, never heard of it." And he was like, "You know, where all you bastards gassed the Jews." And then I was like, Jesus Christ, you can't say that.
What was his response?
He was just like, what? What are you talking about?
What you talking about? We gas no Jews.
Yeah, and then we were like, you know, Hitler was Austrian. And he was like, no, German. We're like, no, he was fucking Austrian, man.
Yeah, I wonder how like English history books go, like because they don't learn about Irish history, or I wonder is it like, oh, we planted a flag, and then we built all these structures for all these people, and we built roads, and we built this, and we showed them what a flag was.
I remember
we showed them what a gun was in case they didn't respect our flag.
I remember an English girl told me before that they got taught in school that, you know, like the Irish War of Independence.
Yeah.
They got taught that was a civil war. They got taught nothing about, like, you know, oh, it was like a war against Britain. They were taught like it was a war between Irish people, between Catholics and Protestants. That there was nothing to do with Britain, wasn't involved at all.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was only when she came to Ireland that she learned a different version of
A
history.
different version of history. I wonder how they were taught the Indian side of things then. There's a comedian. I can't think of his name. He's a British comedian. He used to do stuff with Lego. And
With Lego.
yeah, he used to do like a video clips, and he's like, he talked about the fucking English Empire, and it was like, they just went to the land, planted their flag, and it was like, I claim this for Britain, and I'm gonna back it up with this flag and this gun, and it's like, hey, you got about that here, it's our land, bang, this respects my flag. I can't think of his name. I think he might be. I don't know if he's transgender now, but he's also a politician.
Also a politician.
Yeah, he does stuff with Star Wars as well. He does
Not Eddie Izzard, is it?
Eddie Izzard is. That's who exactly it is. Yeah, he's an interesting fucking man. He is. He's like
Eddie Izzard is pretty cool. Did you see him on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, no, he's like really interesting. He's a kind of he's a fucking really into swimming. Like he swam the English Channel.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard's cool.
Yeah, I used to love all his little fucking YouTube videos where he did it like with the Lego. There's one of like Darth Vader in a cafeteria. It's just like, I own this ship. You are Mr. What? No, I am Lord Vader. Lord Darth Vader. Hey, he's mixing up with the manager of the kind of the kitchen. It's like, hey, that's the Mr. Whatever. It's like, I am Darth Vader. I could kill you with my thoughts. It's brilliant. People should look into it.
You should look into it. It's dangerous telling people to look into things these days.
I know it is. Stuff is that people believe is mad. I got my second dose vaccine there on Monday.
Yeah.
And first of all, people are like, few people I know who are anti-vax are like, oh, get away from me, I don't want to be near you in case I catch it off you. Like, it's like you can't catch being vaccinated off a person who's just got the vaccine. Or did you just vaccinate one person and stick them in a room for 15 minutes? Like, that's not how this works. And then she was like, oh, you have all those magnets in your arm. First it was the 5G, and I was like, trust me, I wish there was 5G. The internet in this house is shocking.
Yeah.
And I was like, then they went on to magnets. So like, I think I was having something with a knife, and I put the knife up to my arm, and it just fell straight on the ground. It's like, there you go. And it's like
the nonsense that people believe about the vaccine is fucking painful.
Do you know what? And they're like, do you think? Imagine if there was magnets in the vaccine, like they had a. They'd have to say, oh, if you work as a chef, do not get this vaccine. There's a place covered in metal, knives flying at you like nothing.
Or, like stuff like you've got people going, oh, I'm not going to take that. You don't know what's in it, or this is in it and that's in it, and they're telling you all this while they're smoking a cigarette.
Well, the thing
that
is,
actually has rat poison and fucking rocket fuel in it. Or they're telling you this, and then they're going out at the weekend and they're snorting a heap of cocaine that has fuck knows what.
How tested do you think that shit is? Well,
yeah.
The thing is, like, I remember someone did say, like,
vaccines come from the health service. Your cocaine comes from some random lad down the fucking back alley.
You don't know what he's cutting it with. But like, yeah, I remember they were like asking me like, "Oh, do you know there's this in the vaccine?" I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And they're like, "I don't know, but it's a chemical." It's like, I don't.
Did you see that? There's a YouTube video where a guy had an argument. He had a debate with an anti-vaxxer, and he listed out this big list of chemicals. And he was like, all this is in, or he's like, why would you put something into your body that contains all this? And he listed out a whole list of stuff. And the anti-vax person was like, exactly. Why would you put that into your body? He goes, yeah, that's the chemical composition of an apple.
Yeah. I was like, I showed my sister this. I was like, here, this is the chemical compound of a blueberry. And some of it is like, it was cheap. It was like water was a good bit of it, and then it was like they broke down like weird, like simple things, and then it also says love and joy. Has like sun rays, whatever the chemical compound of like sun is.
Yeah, like when you break down stuff like that, like everything looks scary when you see it as a fucking.
But the thing is, like, what gets me is they're willing to take these drugs that were approved, that weren't even approved, that cure people who have COVID-19 in the hospital. They're like all these third world countries are doing it, and why did those third world countries actually started using those medications? Was they got like a petri dish and got COVID-19 and then put that drug on it and it cleared it, and then they put it into a pig's eye and it did the same. And based off those two like foundational studies, they're like, yep, we're going to inject our people with this. And then just like that's the reason, that's all the research that went into those two drugs. And then you're looking at all the research that was done before the vaccines were approved, and they're like, no, it's that I'm not going to put that fucking untested vaccine, that fucking experimental vaccine into myself. And they're like, but if you catch COVID, you're willing to take that drug that they just tested on a pig's eye. and and a few third world people who had like severe COVID. Like literally, that's why it wasn't. It was like clinical trials were starting first, and they hadn't even started like live animal trials. These were using organs of animals first, then they go on to like live animals, and then they'll go on to humans after they do like some safety stuff on it.
Yeah, sure, makes sense.
So like I can understand like fucking people in a middle of a pandemic, a third world country that's having like every hour like 400 people die. Go, okay, let's just take this and see what happens. Like if you're that stuck, you take it. But like I can't see why, if you're in like a Western country where they have their shit together, they have like social distancing, they have like proper hand hygiene, and most people are following the rules, and numbers aren't crazy high. Like you take that as experimental drug, especially over one that's like I think 4 billion people have at least one dose of a vaccine at this stage.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not experimental anymore. It's like 4 billion people have it. Like, a majority of the world have at least one dose. Like, there's more people in the world that have it than don't have it at this stage.
Like, and then people are like, the government's making money off it. How? How is the government making money off it?
Yeah, well, the government are actually buying it.
Yeah, and they're paying people to not go to work, and they're giving away the vaccine for free, and they're treating people that have actual COVID for free. And like, how are the government making money off this?
Oh, yeah, and they're paying overtime for nurses and doctors and basic GPs. Also,
my ma works for the HSE. She was offered to go and work as a vaccinator, to go and train and work as a vaccinator for an extra. Now it would be on top of like her actual job, so she turned it down. But it's an extra €300 a day.
€300 a day.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So like they're offering people €300 a day on. So like they expect her to go and work for 12-hour shift, then go and work for 8 hours in a vaccination center for €300 a day.
18 hours she'd be working.
Yeah, on top of
So 12 hours would be 20 hours.
Yeah.
Would that be on her day off though? She'd do an 8-hour day. So you know how it's.
Well, you see, she does, the way my ma works is it's 7 days.
She works 7 days?
Yeah, it's like 7 days, and 7 days, and then you have a week off.
I thought it was like 3 days a week, but it's like it's 12 hours or 10-hour shift or 15-hour shifts.
Yeah, she does like, so she'll do 5 days, 5 nights, 7 days, 7 nights, something like that.
Yeah.
And then a week off.
I don't know. Yeah, week off after that. Yeah, because they do fucking insane hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then imagine on your day off going into a vaccination center. That was your gig on top of when you had your week off.
Imagine that. tax you be paying on that?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Well, what you do is you put all your tax onto one job. You just transfer. You can actually just tax. So that like you could just pay off your tax with the vaccination money. So all the money that you make as a nurse goes into your bank account untaxed, and then you just basically are working off your tax. Then I know a guy who worked 2 jobs, and he works with us, and he used to do a 12-hour shift. It used to be from 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning to sometimes 6:30 in the evening, sometimes 7 o'clock if like we got delayed. And then he had to start work in the Independent at 9 o'clock, and he'd work from the Independent to 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's crazy. Yeah.
He spent the majority, and I remember one time we didn't get back till 8 o'clock. We were really late, so he literally went, had a shower, straight into the Independent, and did like his shift.
That's nuts. Like, why would you put yourself through that?
And yeah, I worked it out. He came out better of 50 cents is what he made from it. Like that after he paid from what he would have got from the Independent, and the tax that he would have paid because of the 2 jobs. After paying off the tax, he would have made 50 cents.
That's fucking atrocious.
Yeah, you would have been 50 cents better off. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Like, why would you do that?
I have absolutely no idea. Like that's what, like some lads that go, oh, well, all your wages are like tax free.
But they're not really.
No, they're not really. Like I remember like some lads was doing like 50 hours. And he's getting paid, or yeah, I think it was 50. He's getting €100 tax, and like basically the difference of it was maybe €200 more. I think he was walking away with €200 more or something like that. But he wasn't adding in the fact that he was stopping for more breaks as well. like if you're working a 10-hour day, you're going to go probably shop twice instead of once.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like other kind of expenses of your day. So like, then you're also not living. Like this thing is mad.
Like, when they ask you to work extra hours in work, like they're like, oh, like a bit of extra money, but you're like, yeah, a bit of extra tax.
Yeah, a bit of extra. Well, it's a little bit extra money for less time, more tax, and yeah, by the time you come better out, unless like there's certain jobs where you get your lunch paid for or they pay that. So some jobs don't even pay your through your lunch break. So if you do take an extra break, you're not getting paid for that. So all your breaks that you take throughout the day, you're not getting paid for, and you're going to be working longer. And sometimes you have to pay for your lunch as well. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No, I think people are kind of copping on to that. Like a lot of people I know they're being offered pretty good money now, but it's for 60 hours a week, 50, 60 hours a week. And they're like, oh, we can't find anybody. And it's like, oh, well, maybe because you're asking people to work 10-hour shifts.
Yeah, like that's fucking insane.
Yeah, like even one guy come up for Christmas, he was working 5 15-hour days. That's
like, why?
Yeah, it was like, I seen him on a Friday. It's like, oh, are you working at the weekend? He's like, no, I've done fucking 5 15-hour days. I was like, I'm not working weekends. I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Like, that's just mental.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, you're basically getting up, going to bed, going to work, and that's the majority of your life. That's your main activity, is going to work.
Yeah, like surely it makes you depressed after a while.
I think if you do over time, there's like I think your man was saving up for a house and he had a child on the way, so there was like probably reasons why he was trying to put money aside. So maybe just kind of like make his bank balance look a little bit better. He worked more hours. Yeah, for a short time you can, like I definitely think you can do it. You can work that, but there is a limit. There is like a point where you go, look, I am spending majority of my time just like in this job, and I'm going home, and I'm getting up. Like overtime, you just compare. I imagine you compare.
Yeah, like I wouldn't. Some companies don't even pay overtime.
Yeah, well, we don't get paid overtime. You only get like where I work. It's just like when you start, when you finish.
Yeah, I don't get paid overtime either.
Yeah, well, they go. Well, you're a manager, so you're on a salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what reason why we don't get paid overtime is because they're like, well, there's no set finishing time. Finish when your work is done. Or can we do less work then?
Yeah, you're gonna go home early.
Can we just stop working at a certain time then? I know, like, there's some people like they get a set wage, and no matter what hours they work, they get that wage.
Yeah, that's shitty as well.
Yeah, people go, oh, so if I finish early, I get the same wage. Yeah, but if you finish really late, you also get the same wage.
And it's generally frowned upon to finish early.
Oh, if you came back early, they're like, wait, why are you back so early? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
Yeah.
Why? Well, you can go out in another run then.
Like, that's... Fuck that, like.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a balance. But also there's a lot to be said about, like, having something in your life outside work. It's just some escapism as well, or a project or something. I think is very important. People who are either too devoted to a relationship and work are weird people. Like, I think you need a distraction. You need like a external hobby.
You need to go and choke some people in a safe environment.
Yeah, you need to spend your time in a padded room trying to murder your friends.
While wearing pajamas.
I was talking to Gus about this. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's kind of a like it does look a bit gay." Just a role or explain it to people who don't know about jiu-jitsu. Like trying to get people into jiu-jitsu that you're going to have your head in some guy's crotch for a few hours and you're not enjoying it. And I was like, it's not that. It's like you are like trying to put people in these holes, and there's a safe word. And he goes, "You're not making it sound any more gay, less gay."
You're trying to do laundry with people still in the clothes.
Yeah, but then I was like looking at, like, obviously we follow different clubs, and everyone's have all these team photos, and a lot of them are giant homophobes who are in these clubs, and they're like just surrounded by these ultra sweaty, greased up looking like men with all of them have their shirts off, and all of them are flexing on each other. Oh yeah, you look great. They're like, are you suppressing any other emotions there?
Are we referring to anybody in particular here, Mark?
There might be one or two people I'm referring to on the beach, covered in sand, with your friend.
Oh, I hope they listen.
Yeah, I did hear a great example for it where people are like a rebuttal for that, and they're like, you definitely know if you're gay or not gay by doing jiu-jitsu because you have your literal face in a guy's crotch, and you're like, no, it's not for me. It would be odd way to find out. Oh yes, that is for me. I'd like more of that, please.
Isn't it funny how, like, in jiu-jitsu, say somebody comes in for their first class and, like, you're kind of partnered up with them, or, like, when we changed gyms, so we knew nobody going in there, so you're, like, sparring with people that you don't know and stuff, and you're perfectly comfortable, like, up in their space and stuff. But then as soon as class ends and it's like time to go into the change room and stuff, it's like, all right, everybody needs to keep the fuck away from everyone.
Oh, do you mean everyone's like keeping their distance, or?
Yeah, or like, you know, you wouldn't let like a random stranger in the street touch it.
Well, it would be weird. Yeah, it's weird that
you
have this place where you go, and yeah, like I said, you're gonna be like grabbing the inside of a person's upper leg, and like sliding your hands up their body and holding their biceps and going belly to belly. And like, if you didn't know what jiu-jitsu was, you'd be like, what are you doing to these guys?
Yeah.
Where can I sign up? but like in jiu-jitsu, it's an ultra macho thing to do, and we're just a couple of guys just roughhousing around.
Roughhousing around.
Do you ever see? I don't know if it was pissed. There's there's like this video circulating of these English people. I think Vice did it, and it was like these English wrestlers, and they're like, "Oh, you scallywag!" And he had him in like a headlock. He's like, "Oh, say the safe word! Save the safe word!" I might see if I can find it, and I'll stick it up on our pages. But it could be in kind of like a piss take of like these guys who are clearly in the closet, all all meet up into this room so they can just like twist each other and put each other in each other's holds.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, it's not good.
It doesn't look great, but it makes people more open-minded. I think jiu-jitsu does make people more open-minded.
But like no kind of like martial art or combat sport looks great from the outside looking in. Like even look at kickboxing. Like you're gonna go somewhere and get a bunch of random people to punch you in the face.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like I think particularly grappling, and especially since they're like its prevalence in Eastern European countries, and how prevalent like homophobia is in Eastern public. It's just odd that these two things exist simultaneously. Like there's like a style of oil wrestling where guys are in very, very tight pants and they are covered in grease or oil, and they basically wrestle, and in order to get holds, they have their hands in each other's pants, and they use the asshole as a kind of a gripping mechanism in order to get leverage over to hold down their opponent or like get on top of their opponent. This is in a country where homophobia is punishable by death. So it's just odd that these two things can happen simultaneously in cultures. Yeah, you can legally oil check a person in this country, and it's seen as great technique. But if you go to get dinner together afterwards, you are going to be like shot. So I find it fascinating that like these two things can happen simultaneously in cultures.
Yeah, it's a bit mental, like.
But yeah, it's good. I also to kind of like when you do jiu-jitsu, you're in a situation where you're beside a guy who owns his own business, who's in his 50s. You're beside a guard. You're beside a 16-year-old student who's like doesn't know what he wants to do after school. You have some rugby player, and then you have like a bunch of other people from all walks of life, like people that you'd never talk to outside of training. That you're coming in, and like everybody's on this like same level. Everyone's like high fiving as it going. You're just chatting away to you. There's no kind of class system. That's all get washed away on the mats. All it is like how good you are at jiu-jitsu determines like maybe your ranking. That's about it.
Yeah, it's mad. Like it's it's good though.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's like, and I think that's most sports. Like if you go into like a GA pitch, you'll probably see the same thing. You'll probably see people from different walks of life. And football pitch, you'll see the same thing. You'll see people from different walks of life who are different experiences. But on the pitch, they're a team. They're one people. Outside of training, they're maybe not. They wouldn't be seen with each other because of class or jobs or whatever. But like it kind of, that's why I think it's good to have that. It's good to have that kind of like, it builds a community in a town. I think sports do. And then that's why I think if you're working and you're just come home and you're getting up and you don't have that. All you have is work at home, and then your small bit of home life, that a person that you never see because you're working so much, and that's all you have. You just grinds yourself down, is it? You need like a connection outside work.
Mark's getting all deep now.
I am 204. I'm embracing my Joe Rogan. Start doing DMT.
Yeah, you've been doing DMT and drinking whiskey before the show.
It's imagine how we switched from like why like sports are so important, from like how homophobic the Eastern Europeans, even though they love lying on top of each other, we switched it. That's the metaphor we use was like, oh yeah, there's like punishable by death, but you can't go get dinner, and that's why it's so important to do sports. Get any pumped up like feelings you have out of yourself.
Yeah, it's strange. Like it is really strange. Like that. You just like the situations that you get comfortable in.
Yeah,
Particularly sports that are like require you to like be in somebody else's personal space all the time.
yeah, you'd be like like I said, your head is in somebody's cross, or even if you're working with a girl in jiu-jitsu and obviously you're trying to navigate inappropriate touching, or you're not trying to touch anything like that, but like when you get comfortable rolling with a girl in jiu-jitsu, you're not really thinking about it, you're just doing jiu-jitsu and all that goes out the window. It's only kind of really when you have new girls in jiu-jitsu who are kind of who are just getting started, and you're kind of, I don't know how she'll take. She might know what jiu-jitsu is. I'm trying to, yeah, because you have to put your hands places and you have to like control people from hips and armpits and stuff like that, and it's
like it's always awkward. Like the first time you roll with a girl, I wonder do girls feel the same though. Like the first time you roll with a girl in jiu-jitsu, like a new girl that you haven't rolled with before, is always awkward.
yeah, it is kind of awkward because there's this added kind of, oh, I can't be touching a girl there thing to it, and there's also, I am also a lot heavier than this girl, and
Yeah, and
if
then
I'm
you like, I always find it kind of like there'd be times where maybe you're fucking ice cream guy. Like, why the fuck's he?
it's the middle of winter. Why are you here?
He comes here about 3 times every fucking day.
Obviously gets great business.
Nobody goes out to him. Like nobody ever goes near the cunt. Yeah, like the first time that like if you're, say it's like sparring time and like the girl that you've never spoken to is the only one that hasn't got somebody to spar with.
Yeah.
Like there's an awkward thing there where I'll just sit the round out.
Oh,
Like,
you won't ask the new girl. Yeah, no, I think a lot of people do that. Another thing is, I don't ask really. Only certain people I'll ask to go. I just sit there, and if someone wants to roll, because that's the way I take it when I'm rolling with girls. Because some girls, they don't want to roll with guys, or they don't want to roll with people who are too bigger than, or they're very selective who they roll with. So that's why sometimes I'll just sit there, and if they want to roll, I'll roll. If they don't, I just leave it there because I couldn't care less. There's a kind of bit where it's kind of like it is awkward at first, but once they do jiu-jitsu and they get a little bit on, they know what they're doing. You know, they've been there before. It just like all that gets washed away, and all you're doing is you're just trying to do jiu-jitsu. You're just trying to kill each other in the most safest way possible.
just trying to kill each other. Everybody just try and strangle the person closest to you.
Yeah, or just break their limbs, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's good crack.
Yeah, but I think that's why so like a lot of girls don't actually getting girls either to stay on doing jiu-jitsu or trying to first of all getting over that awkward barrier first of how close contact jiu-jitsu is, and then it's probably just like there's anytime it comes to sparring, they have fuck all people to spar with because everyone's like, just too awkward. Ask them to want to go roll.
Yeah, like even if like I even find it awkward. Like if they're sitting on the mat, and kind of like looking around, like waiting for somebody to kind of ask them. I'm like, I'm not gonna, because you're like, I had to be like, it could come off as being creepy. That you're like, they're going over, going, do you want to roll? It can come off as just being plain weird. You can get into weird situations when you're rolling with them. Whereas if it's a girl that you've talked to,
Yeah,
at least a little bit before it's gotten to that stage. It's kind of like, oh no, it'll be fine. It's okay. You can kind of get away with most things with a little like, oh shit, sorry, as you're rolling, just keep going.
Yeah, well, like once you get to know them, it's grand. But I don't think it's weird to ask a girl to roll. But there is that guy who asks only girls to roll as well.
Yeah. Like you don't want to fuck that category either.
Yeah, everyone knows that guy who asks.
Yeah, every gym has that guy.
Has a guy who only rolls with girls or rolls with girls a little bit too much and smaller people as well. So if it's not a girl, it's a teenager, and you're like, why are you not rolling with any of us?
Yeah, you get certain people.
Why are you scared, homie?
You get certain people that refer to themselves as coaches that will only roll with people that are a lot smaller than
them. Yeah, or senseis. I'm not asking you to call me sensei. Oh, good, because we're not going to. It's just like, we don't do that here. When have we ever done this here? Why would we start with you? We are not talking about SPG.
That was actually something that when we changed to SPG from our old gym,
that
was something that I found like really kind of like a shock to the system, kind of like how less formal the classes are.
There wasn't any kind of belt thing. So like in jiu-jitsu,
like there was no lining up and no like, you must call me professor, you must call me coach, you must call me whatever. It's just kind of like, okay, go warm up. We're going to do class now.
Yeah, well, I know in I trained a bit in absolute MMA in Australia, and for gi jiu-jitsu they have the ranking thing where white belts, brown belts, purple belts, that kind of thing. And they did all that for gi, but not no gi. Was just kind of that's like, hey, high five, kind of thing. And same in Henzo's. John Danaher didn't do any of the ranking thing. It was all no-gi. Everyone just sat in the mats, warming up themselves. And then everyone shook his hand at the end. That was the only kind of ranking thing. But he says he doesn't enforce that. That's more people start doing it and then people copy other people. So it just came a thing. But then, I think, not, I don't know, I can't think of the Gracie that trains there. It's not Henzo. Starts, I don't know his name. But he'd have rankings. He'd have like you kind of thing, and it's kind of awkward because you don't know people's systems sometimes. So sometimes you don't know if it's not about belt. It's about you line up where you are in a line and you bow, and sometimes it is like purple. So you don't want to be skipping people or going ahead of people. You go, oh well, I'm a purple belt, so you behind me. there you're kind of just that feeling out process when you go to new gyms as well.
Yeah, like that was the first thing that like hit me about it, was that it was like less like the.
Some people look for that though. I think some people,
like the classes are more structured.
Yeah, I think some people look for the hierarchy and the bowing and the like that traditional aspect of it, and I think for kids that element is good. And I don't mind it for some reason. I think it suits gi jiu-jitsu, maybe because you're wearing a gi. But when
it's a little bit more formal.
Yeah, when you have like guys wearing Spider-Man rash guards and Pikachu rash guards, and like this, like it's already the formalities went out the window. So like, why keep the bowing and the fucking Japanese words?
The Japanese words. I forgot about the Japanese words.
Yeah, I don't actually remember any of the Japanese words. So it was like, I don't know what they meant. I never got explained what they meant.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the Japanese words.
All the one I remember is age. That's because I'm learning Irish, and age is like he has or something else, or she has. Age, I think it's he has.
Yeah. A key is her.
Yeah.
Is her.
Yeah. I get. Yeah, and Aggie. It's like, oh, I used to say this in jiu-jitsu. But we managed to get to the end of our 204 show, Ken.
Yeah.
So what did you think about freewheeling it?
It's okay.
It's a bit different. I think we just
It's different.
I think we just would end up going down the same talking points if we didn't have stories.
I think if we were to freewheel it again, if we were to freewheel it with topics,
With topics. I think that's
like if we had to come into this and we had like, okay, right, we're gonna like just talk shit. We're not gonna go into any stories, but here's like general topic that we're gonna talk about.
Maybe we save that for the 205 show. We can play around. Yeah, I definitely think we need direction.
305. Our next big show.
Yeah. Fuck off. Saying we have any more big shows. Level of anxiety that I've went through. But yeah, I definitely think we could do that. I think we definitely need direction. After this show, I think we need certain direction. And things that are like, here's what we could talk about, and then stuff. I imagine I would miss the odd story here and there of people doing ridiculous things. I think.
Or we could keep the idiots of the week.
Yeah, we could keep the idiots of the week, and then just
That's my favorite part.
And then have general talking points.
And maybe a hero of the week. We can find a hero every week.
Yeah, or maybe listeners could email in. Or message in, or however you want to get in contact with us, things they want us to talk about, and we could talk about on that. That could be a way of connecting with our audience.
Yeah, touch
them without actually touching them.
Virtually touching them.
Yeah, that could be also a thing. We'll play around with our. I think we'll play around with our format and see what works.
Yeah. Like, what could go wrong?
The only people that will suffer is our listeners.
Hey, well, you haven't insulted anybody this week.
I don't know about that now, Ken.
Well, you haven't insulted a whole country this week.
No, a whole country. I don't know how the gays will feel about.
Oh yeah.
About talk about or the Eastern Europeans. I don't know which was. I don't think we insulted the LGBT community. I think maybe the Eastern European.
Yeah, I think we were okay with the
LGBTs.
We're okay with them.
They were, like, we're just pointing out the irony of people being homophobic and doing very close contact sports where they're lying on top of other men.
And grunting.
Yes. And sweating. And looking absolutely fabulous.
Covered in sand.
Yeah, covered in sand. With flames.
Flames. Lots of flames. Bring on more flames.
More flames. No, every situation can be improved with more flames.
And wings.
Yeah, but that's our 205. We actually did manage to slack off countries without even trying, and we've potentially got another format for the show.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of our new song, our new format, and what you'd like us to talk about. We'll be back next week. That was our 204th show. We hope you enjoyed it anyway.
We kind of did.
I was nervous that we'd get to the end, or that there'd be long pauses. We managed to get to it.
We survived.
Yeah, we'll be back next week.
Hopefully.
Shut up and sit down.